APA style, as we're looking at how the content is written. This is a little more difficult than doing the formatting because, as I said before, formatting, you can look it up, you can follow the directions, and you can get it right. With the style, this is looking at making sure you're writing appropriately for your discipline, which is the health sciences. And APA demands a concise and precise style of writing, choosing the correct words. Instead of choosing 6 words strung together that mean something, choose one word that means the same thing. Don't be repetitive. Get to the point. Now, I've heard students say, well, then my paper is going to be really short if I have to condense everything and write in this concise manner. No, it won't. Just because you're not adding some fluff and some repetition doesn't mean your paper is going to be short, because what you really need to have in your paper would be elaboration and support. And what I mean by elaboration doesn't mean a whole lot of duplicate examples, but it does mean giving examples that are relative and valid. It means explaining things thoroughly for your audience. So whoever your audience is, they need to know what it is you're talking about, obviously. And so you need to decide how much information do they need. Make sure you're explaining it thoroughly for your specific audience. So that's the elaboration part. And then, of course, support. You need to support what it is you're saying. So whether it's with logical argumentation, whether it's with some really good examples, whether it's with some scenarios, or if it's with source material. So if it's expert testimony or statistics, but all of those types of things support what it is you're saying. So it's that elaboration and support that really gives you what you would think is the length of your paper, but what I would say is the depth of your paper. That's what you need. That's what that more advanced writing is, and that's what APA wants as well. They want plenty of explanation, and they want plenty of support. You also want to make sure when writing an APA and any of your scholarly professional papers that you're using a scholarly and a professional tone. This means to not speak casually. Don't use slang or contractions. And I know most people use contractions all the time. I use them a lot when I speak. But when you're writing, you have the time to really be careful with what is on the paper. And to be honest, contractions do make your writing look and sound more casual, and you want that more professional tone. It gives it makes your audience trust you more. It makes them respect you more as an expert, and that's something that's really important. Something that Aristotle would call ethos. But make sure you have that tone, and part of that's going to be not having any sort of a sarcastic tone in your voice. You don't want to have that coming through. That's also part of what we're going to talk about next, which is that objective third person. But make sure you have that scholarly tone. So no slang, no contractions. Make sure you're writing in a professional manner. Another part of APA style is using an objective third person point of view. Almost all of your professional writing and scholarly writing, regardless if it's APA, MLA, or Chicago, should have an objective third person point of view, which means you are being critical and analytical, and you are looking at it from the outside. You're not putting your own feelings and opinions in there. Instead, you're looking at it critically. You're supporting what it is that you're saying, and and the important thing is that it's third person, which means that there's no use of I, we, which is first person, or you, saying you, which is second person point of view. Make sure that it is in a third person point of view. Now, there's always what I like to call a platypus, which means an exception to the rule. And there will be some times when you will need to write in first person for a scholarly paper or a professional paper, and that's fine. If the audience and purpose call for a first person point of view, then that's what you do. When would that be? Well, if you have to give some personal examples, like personal experiences, if you need to talk about that, then of course you would talk about that in first person. If your instructor or the assignment calls for you to discuss your personal views on something, not research, but we're talking about what they say, well, what are your views or what are your beliefs about? And you have to talk about your own views and beliefs. That would be in first person as well, which means you would use I. If you if you were in a group and you were doing research and you wanted to present the research that you had done, where you had done like your very own study, gone out and done questionnaires or something like that. I'm not talking about research like finding other people's research. I'm talking about you collecting data yourself. Then you could say we if you had a team together. Now, you're not going to do this very often. Make sure you double check with your instructor that that is what he or she wants in the paper. But if you do have to use first person, make sure you use the correct pronoun, I or we. Do not use this author or this researcher. APA actually has in the manual that that is not what you do, that you actually refer to yourself as I. Here's an example of APA style writing, when I talk about how you're actually writing the content of the paper. Now, the first part here at the top, as you can see, not APA style. It's wordy, a bit repetitive, and it lacks precision. So let's take a look at it. Throughout history, people have misunderstood the world around them. There was a time when it was believed the world was flat. Misunderstandings about medical conditions abounded. Now, that whole section here, let's highlight it. This whole section here is replaced by actually just half of one sentence. Historically, people have held misconceptions about medical conditions. So that right there, part of one sentence, took care of all of this here. And then here we have migraines were mistaken for demons inside one's head. Women suffering from postpartum depression were thought instead to be suffering some type of neurosis and given shock treatment. That is replaced by this, about where the second half of the sentence, such as believing women suffering from postpartum depression were neurotic. The end of the top paragraph, where is it? Oh, even today, many think that the only way a woman gets breast cancer is to inherit the disease from her parents, is changed to this. It's still one sentence, but it says, even today, some mistakenly believe genetics is the single cause of breast cancer. So we have one, it's condensed. It's more concise. And this one is a little more wordy. But even more so, I want you to take a look at the precision of some of the words that are being used. Here we have the word misconceptions. So instead of people have misunderstood the world around them, we have people have held misconceptions. It's a wonderful word, it's very precise, and it sounds very professional. Here's some more words to take a look at. Not just the green ones here, but here we have suffering some type of neurosis, and that was changed to were neurotic. So again, more precise. Here we have, even today, some mistakenly believe genetics is the single cause of breast cancer. And that's replacing this, where it says, even today, many think that the only way a woman gets breast cancer is to inherit the disease from her parents. So inherit the disease from her parents, we have changed to genetics, and the only way a woman gets breast cancer has been changed to the single cause of breast cancer. So again, single cause instead of the only way a woman gets. This is far more precise. It is more correct terminology to be using in the health sciences, single cause, using genetics instead of inherit the disease from her parents. These are the things you need to stop and think about, is using the correct language for your audience. And genetics, single cause, misconceptions, these are the correct terms to be using for your audience. These are those precise words. This is a nice, concise way of writing the same thing that's up here. I hope this tutorial helped you with APA, help you understand how to use it, where to find your resources. Remember, you have publications, you have online sources, and you have in-person sources. The Center for Student Success, me, your faculty, any of us can help you with APA. Remember that there is format and style. Make sure that you're formatting everything correctly and that you're writing in the appropriate style for your discipline, which is the health sciences. If you have any questions or you have any problems, make sure you let me know or contact the Center for Student Success.